Brandon, it's always cool to me when company reps aren't just reps because they work for the company, they're actually aquarists. Tell me about your background with aquariums.
Growing up, I think like a lot of us kids, we had a neon Tetra tank. That was it. That was the starting point for me. Fast forward 15 years, it was a 120-gallon tank that I started to fill with basic clownfish and firefish, and went from there.
So no one has just a one tank story if you've been in this hobby for any amount of time. What do you have now, and how did you get from the 120 to where you are now?
If you look at the picture, you can see there's a Humu trigger, there's a flame angel, and you got a bunch of zoas and leathers. And I was wondering why my coral wasn't doing well until I saw my trigger picking at it one day, and it kind of clicked then as I typed into Google, do triggerfish eat coral? Yes, they do, by a lot. Got my own little slap on the wrist for not doing my own research on that. So that naturally meant that instead of rehoming the fish, I needed to set up a second tank for my coral. So I ended up with a 54-gallon bow front and a 120-gallon tank. I had a split tank that we used to use at trade shows. It was divided in half. It was freshwater on one side, saltwater on the other. So currently now my setup is I've turned the garage into a fish room. It's got a 240-gallon, 6 foot by 2 foot by like 30 inches tall tank. And then I've got an 8 foot long frag flat, which that one has a bunch of nems in it, a bunch of coral.
So you're clearly all in. You've moved tanks. One of the things I've said about moving tanks is they don't like to move. They get picky. They're going to scream and shout at you when you move. Any tank moving disasters or tank disasters overall?
It was 7 in the morning. And my girlfriend comes sprinting up the stairs and she goes, "Your tank is leaking." I had a security camera on it and got to go back and look at it. And the entire seam had split on the front panel. And was just gushing water out the side. The video still gives me nightmares. Was able to hold that tank together with ratchet straps for 3 days while I got a new tank into place.
So lots of background in aquariums. How did you make the leap from aquarist to Kessil?
On that 120-gallon tank that I had on the second floor that with a bunch of incompatible fish, I'd used a bunch of different lights, and I had an A160, the Kessil A160, and I dropped the power supply in the water, and so that was kind of on me. And I reached out looking for just a replacement or a warranty. I wasn't sure, and I noticed that they were in Richmond, which was 45 minutes away from me, and I'm like, I wonder if they're hiring. So I reached out, and that was 5 years ago, and so here we are.
What's it been like working for Kessil? Big corporate feel, small company feel?
So a lot of people don't know this. Kessil's a part of a company called Dicon Fiber Optics. So we actually have been making like fiber optic components and switches since the 80s. So fiber optics was the background, and the lighting came around in the early 2000s. A lot of this stuff on feedback of products, it comes from hobbyists. You know, I'm in all the Facebook groups. All of our staff's in the Facebook groups. Every single person who works here that deals with customer service or whatnot, we've all got aquariums. We read, we watch, we pay attention. We like to hear from people.
And at the end of the day, you're an aquarist, so if you're trying something out on your tank, an actual tank, not a test tank, you're gonna know what kind of feedback you need to give Kessil, and you can walk right up to the CEO and give it to them, or the engineers. They're getting it from the horse's mouth because you're an aquarist.
Yeah, and it'd be, I mean, we're not just sitting here going, well, we think this may work, but let's see. You know, like you said, it is feedback directly from, this is how it ran on our tank in the lobby, or this is how it ran on our tank at home, or whatnot. You know, it's that those bits of feedback from me, from my staff, from and from you guys. So it's all appreciated.